how's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have another episode of Backstage Press, and we have Dear Untitled with us, and he can say his name. And obviously, I said his thing, so he can just say his name.
Yeah. Hey everyone, Nick Beardsley. I run the music blog media outlet called Dear Untitled. It's a very flexible, fluid thing, but it's essentially a online zine to cover bands and feature artists I appreciate.
There we go. Well, I don't know how we actually met, so that's going to be the first topic of discussion because I was trying to remember. I'm almost positive I had messaged you, and I was like, I had reached out for like collaboration, and I was just like, because he's local, so I was like, why don't we just do something? Like, it just like not enough YouTubers are like, let's do something, and I was just like, Nick's doing some good shit, so I was just like, let me hit him up. I was like, I know how hard it is, like starting out and doing like anything music related and stuff. So I was just like, let me hit the man up. Let me see if he responds. If he doesn't, then I'm not gonna have hard feelings. I was like, if I see him at a show, I'm gonna be like, yo, man, I don't hate you, but like, why didn't you? Yeah, I'll see you in the pit later. So I was like, let me hit him up and see what happened. And then we didn't do anything, which is totally fine. I know how busy you are, and I knew how busy I was. So I was just like,
see, it's not so much schedule. So when you reached out, I was like, yo, he's doing some like great stuff over there because like you legitimately have like and again, just kind of starting out growing and building, kind of fighting the social media algorithms. You already kind of have that. I mean, you know the pain of that. Everyone
I know.
Does.
Yeah,
everyone listening to this. But like you're on YouTube and everything, and you have these interviews, and you know artists that I'm just like fanboying over, and I'm like, he's got the connects. I have nothing right now. This is cool. So when you reached out, I was like, this is awesome. I'd love to do something, but I don't even know where I'm heading. So like that. So it's kind of like it's not necessarily. Yeah, exactly. It's just like it's because Dear Untitled started out as, and I'm sure we'll dig a little bit into this.
You can talk about it right now. That's a great segue.
Perfect. Yeah. So Dear Untitled started, and I realized I was kind of getting like not even kidding. I was kind of getting a little too addicted to video games. I mean, and
I vibe with that. I know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I still am, of course. But no, I was just like, you know what? I jam to music at least 8 hours a day at my job. Like, I love finding new artists. I love going to shows. Like, it's about the music, but then I come home and I just sit on my butt and play video games for like 6 hours a night. Like, what am I doing with myself? True. I want to help people. I want to like help get these guys noticed. So like, I didn't think I'd start out to anything big, but I found this really, really good band that actually is no longer. They were breaking up, called Avoid. My good friend Nick Booth out of Iowa. And he's tied to Ghost Key. He's tied to his solo project. Like, shout out to him. We share the same initials too, so he's my bro.
So there you go. That's
it.
NB.
Yeah. So I featured them on the initial kind of magazine cover of Dear Untitled. Them, Blue Shift, and I think it was the Danger of Falling and Mayfield.
Oh, both great. All three of those are great. Yeah.
I know, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, how can this go wrong? Yeah. And what the hell am I doing? Like, at the same time. So I was just like, hey, reaching out. I'd love to do reviews of your music. Because I've always had opinions, And
I think everybody does, Especially exactly. I would know. I'm on YouTube. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You're talking about opinions with artists all the time. So it was a lot of that, and it really came down to, okay, this is going to be a magazine format, and I can loop people in to help me with like graphics, and my buddy Dave does like all our graphic design, and it's just really neat to meet your heroes.
Oh, 100%.
Honestly, like exactly, like we stumbled across Widmore, and you already had them. You're like bros with it. I looked them up.
Those
and I was
guys.
Like,
Underrated,
like
underrated
absolutely,
band.
Dude.
You wanna? Yeah. I mean, I want to give a slick plug to them. Please. You want to talk about a band that needs to be signed at some point this year? They need to be signed. I've already talked I talked about it in the inaugural episode, which I recorded yesterday. Shouts to my boy Sam of Atlantis Theorem. Check out that band. But I had talked about it, and I was just like, why aren't they signed already? Like, who is not doing their work here? Like, if I had a label, they would have already been signed already. Easy,
You and me
100%,
both, man. We'd sign every band that comes across like our
100%.
plate. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's so many like, oh my gosh. And actually, I'm repping Blue Shift's new shirt, by the way.
I
So
don't have
yeah,
any
shout out
Wid.
to
I
them.
have a Widmore hoodie, but it's a little warm out to be
Yeah, I know.
rocking the hoodie.
Right. Yeah, it's actually surprisingly nice. But
Yes.
yeah. So Dear Untitled started out as this like weird magazine. I was like, hey, maybe it'll be print, maybe not. And I did that for I think a year and a half. It was August of 2018, I
Hmm.
believe I started. And I was like, okay, monthly issues. I can kind of like preview your generic alternative press
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
esque style. I mean, everybody and their brother does that, but I just wanted to meet my heroes. And then that kind of shifted to, okay, what is this going to be? Is this going to be a business? Am I going to like actually print things? Like, would people buy it? All sorts
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And then I transitioned to doing podcasts and kind of like actual live interviews similar to this. And I was like, if Brandon can do it, I can do it too.
Oh, thank you.
So I don't think I have near the audio setup, but yeah, I'm not as slick there. But it's a growing process, not only for me to kind of like better my skills behind the scenes of like just expand my knowledge in general, like
Sure.
copywriting and promotion and learning those dang algorithms. Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
But
that hits my soul. And
yeah.
the main reason, and I don't even know if I've told you this or not, but I'll spill the beans. So like when I had saw Dear Untitled, I was like, this was me. Like this was me in 2016 when I started YouTube and I was doing audio addiction. I was like, I don't know anybody. I don't know
Right.
anybody. I was hoping that somebody would reach out to me and be like, yo, you're doing a great job. You're killing it. We need to work together. Even if
Oh, but
I'm
you are.
larger.
You are.
No. This is what
Yeah.
I was talking about in terms of you. Like when I was checking out Dear Untitled, because I don't
Oh,
even know
dang.
if you knew I
Thank
checked
you.
it out. I was just like, this dude reminds me a lot of me. And I was like, I have to talk to this dude, even if he like doesn't want to do anything or whatever.
Right.
Or
Even if he's such
I,
a snob jerk and
yeah,
just like
whatever. And I was
that
just like,
guy.
I was like, I have to talk to him and be like, yo, man, even if you don't feel like I'm like the biggest YouTuber ever, but I was like, what you're doing is killer stuff. And I was like, it reminds me a lot of like when I started out and I was in first year of audio addiction. I was
Right.
like, this is what it reminded me of. I was like, I know the grind. I know answering emails, and I still do all this shit anyway. But like,
Yeah.
I respect the grind. So I was like, let
Right.
me hit him up. Let me see what's going on. I was like, and then when I started this, I was like, I have to ask him to come on because I was like, it just
Dude,
feels
I
like,
appreciate
I was
it.
like, it's like the student teacher kind of thing. And I was just like, I mean, if whatever you want to learn from me is besides the point, but I was just like,
Right,
I mean,
absolutely. Is that what you consider yourself as, or what you would label yourself as, a YouTuber?
I don't even know. Like, I guess it's kind of
Exactly.
like, I guess it's a combination of a lot of different things. I mean, I guess I would consider myself a YouTube, like, kind of as personality, but I wouldn't consider myself like a Brian Stars or anything. I like
Right.
don't want to be associated with him whatsoever. But I was like, and I even talked about it in the first one we did. I was just like, my whole thought was like starting out. This was like, I just want to have people on here that are just really ripping it, that don't get a lot of credit, that are
Yep.
like doing the work, like do all the behind the scenes work. Because if anybody knows, because like I can respect what you do, I know how much stuff goes on behind the scenes. Like there's just so
Right. I
much
can't
stuff
even
that goes.
imagine bringing video into it. Like
Yeah,
I've wanted to do even snippets because I most of my interviews are Skype. I export audio, all the
yeah, yeah,
the nitty gritty and
yeah,
all that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I see you doing the video. I'm like, I can't even comprehend. I'd love to learn. I
Oh,
would. And again, it's
I'll
kind of
teach
like
you.
the next step. Perfect. Yeah. See,
You got it.
teamwork.
The collabs will continue to happen,
Yeah. Exactly.
But okay, so like obviously you talked about Dear Entitled. I'm almost positive you have more than just yourself. Is that still correct?
So
I know you had like a few other people under your wings. That's how much research I've been doing. But I was like,
research. I do that too.
I know you had some people that were working under you. So is that still happening, or is it mainly like the Nick train right now?
It's interesting because the back it was probably June of 2018 there. I
Mm-hmm.
hopped into, like, everyone goes through the phase of, like, I'm just jamming music all day at work on Spotify, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you've heard of jukebox.fm,
I do. Yeah.
jqbx.fm, yeah. I live over, essentially, I've taken over the metalcore room as a Dear Untitled room. It's still called metalcore, but it's Dear Untitled. The website link goes to the blog, etc. Like, it's my room.
Okay,
Back
there you
out.
go.
Yeah, I mean, actually, come in. Don't back out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but so I met a lot of really cool people, and I was like, I share, just this passion for music.
Yeah,
Most
yeah.
people who go on there found it because they want to collab or communicate with people who love the same artists.
Yeah, yeah.
So I met one of my actually good friends now, Andrew, through that, and we were just messing around in July, and I was like, do you want to start a blog? Like, or something? Because we find all these cool bands, and,
Yeah.
like, that's, we're just jamming them every day. Let's talk to them. And shout out to Silent Planet. He loves them. So he's just like, yo, Garrett's the dog. Let's meet him one day. Or like Ryan Kirby from Fit for a King. Let's meet him one day. Sure. Yeah, not a problem. So it started he and I brought my buddy Dave in for graphics because, like, let's be real. I'm an architect by training and can, do function in Photoshop,
Yeah.
but I'm not near as good as that guy. And he loves music. He's a big, he and I grew up together.
So it worked out, yeah.
Yeah, and it worked out. He's big Devil Wears Prada, like, scene core days, we connect.
Vibes, yeah.
Yeah. So there were 3 of us, and then through Jukebox, we expanded to, I think 5 of us at one point.
Okay. Wow, yeah,
And
team, yeah.
it was a weird dynamic of, like, I was kind of producing content, but they all were pitching in, and this isn't any self-centered thing. Like, I was trying to delegate as much as possible, and we all were bouncing ideas. And it's actually, over the course of time, it's actually back to Dave and I kind of directly on it right now. Andrew's involved, and then we have another buddy, Pilla, up in Maine, who's really into it, picking up the Northeast hardcore scene. They got some bangers, exactly. Yeah. So there's 3 to 4 of us, kind of off and on, but yeah, I mean, in terms of podcasts and, like, heading up social media, it's like the Nick train.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad it's continuing on that way. That's what I see the most of. So I'm like, and I knew you had other people, so I was just like, let me just ask him the question since you're on here. But I guess the next thing would be, like, you obviously said you started a podcast, so, like, how did that come about? Where you were doing, like, the zine thing, so you were just like, you were like, I need to interview people, like, I need to meet my heroes, all that sort of stuff. But when was, like, the forethought of, like, I need to do the interview thing? Like, you were like, oh shit, like, I need to have people on so I could talk to them. And then I posted on the Dear Untitled thing, and then it's like traffic to the site, they post about it, they do all that stuff. I know the social media game.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how did that whole begin? And you're like, I need to do that.
So I really felt, I mean, and again, no offense to the bands, because you can only do so much through email. Absolutely. Like, you only get a
100%.
certain reaction, and, like, the bands you really want to, like, meet and, like, forge that connection with, it's not as personal. So at least I was like, I'm gonna at least start doing in-person interviews, and I'll transcribe it. And then I was like, screw that. I mean, that's a lot of work. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
I love talking to people, and I will talk for as long as you want about music, and especially, like, if you're creating it. So it was August 2019. I've had the podcast, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I like the sound of my own voice, but here goes nothing.
I feel that. I feel that so much.
Yeah, like, don't. I mean, look, I want to push my own stuff and plug it and be like, listen to the Dear Untitled podcast, but the first 3 episodes you can kind of just wander on by.
Nah,
it's just
they're good. I check it out. So I feel like people go check it out. Seriously, he's got it. He's just downplaying it. It's good. It's good.
It's so funny just to see. So August 2019, it came around, and I was like, if I'm diving in, I'm diving in. I got a mic, and I was like, I'm just gonna talk to myself until I get people, like, who want to come on. And then it began dropping, because at that time I was still doing the the magazines,
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
issues. I think we got to like issue 19 before it just became like I'm going to try to do a podcast every week and then, keep pushing articles just cuz as, as the music industry goes, there's so much that happens in a month
yeah,
and every month like being a solo you understand this, like
yeah.
you can't cover it all. Like your past
You got
week
to be
here,
you got to be selective. Yeah, that's what I've
exactly.
learned. Yeah,
Exactly. And so we were like, well, if we want to stay on top of things, like bring on artists we know, artists we don't know, and we'll do this. So I started with like say we had 3 artists on in the month and I'd interview all of them. If it worked out,
yeah.
I'd edit it and throw it on Dear Untitled podcast and bada bing, bada boom. So that's how that came about. And as it has gone on, I've talked to like a couple of producers and like music industry guys. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I export audio, I cut it, and I upload it. Compression? What is that? I don't anything.
None of it. Yeah,
So yeah, right. Yeah, you get what you get. I mean,
yeah.
people tune in, bless their souls, and I'm like just floored by that. There's people who I know, like when an episode drops, they go like they get a notification for it and go download it, and I'm like,
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what you
I'm
want.
blessed. Right? Yeah. Well, yes, that's what I want, but I never dreamed
But
that
same
people would
thing.
want to listen to me.
Same
Yeah, exactly.
thing. I get it. I get it.
I'm sure of it. People
Preaching
like
to
see
the choir.
yeah. People see bands that you bring on, and you're probably just like, yeah, you probably. I'm sure you get plenty of the same, and
Oh, 100%.
it's just a humbling position to be in because the only reason I'm where I'm at or kind of getting to where I'm at is because of the bands I want to support. Like I'm only in it for them. I want my friends and their bands to go as far as possible, and that's why I'm doing it.
That sounds very reminiscent to I'm almost positive you'd check out the first episode, but it's very reminiscent to what I said in the first episode of this one. And people were like, so my friend Sam asked me, he's just like, well, why'd you start Audio Addiction? I was like, I care a lot about music. I'm very passionate about it. And I was just like, I want to see all my friends do super well. Like, that's like the whole thing. Like, and so that's like I said earlier, to rehash what I said literally 5 minutes ago, was that I was like, there's so many similarities. I was just like, we have to get. I was like, I have to get Nick on. Like, there's like, even
absolutely.
if I have to move heaven and earth, I'm like, I'm gonna get Nick on to touch.
And I'm really not trying to play that hard to get. I promise.
This isn't a call out to Nick either. It was just a funny gaffe, and then somebody's gonna take it out of context and be like, yo, you hate Nick, and I was like, I don't, but
we hate each other. Collectively, let's disagree.
Yeah.
We hate each other. We're competing music scene
exactly.
in the same city.
There's
only room for one.
Yeah,
like,
we're having a money match later, so you guys can check that out on pay-per-view. But the next thing, Nick, obviously, like we've been talking about the podcast, but what would be one dream guest, like somebody that like is more local that you're like, man, they kill it, I need to get them on, and then one that's just like shoot for the stars, like doesn't matter if it's possible or not, just to be like, yo, I got to get them on to talk.
Boy, well, I'm gonna take the get them on to talk. We've actually already had them on, although it was again an email interview. I want to get the Gloom in the Corner on for a podcast.
Okay,
hands down.
Say it into the camera. Look directly. Just be like,
the Gloom in the Corner. Come on to the Dear Untitled podcast. See,
I'll give the cosign. Let's do it.
Yeah, Mikey is incredible. He just did a cover of "Bad Guy" by Billy. Yeah, and it's. I mean, he didn't have to go that hard, but he did.
But he did.
Yeah. And then their new track. Oh my gosh, so they're killing it down in Australia. It's interesting to meet. Like again, this is kind of goes off topic a little bit, but like the diversity of where the artists I know and am really
100%,
good, like friends with, is just all over the place. But to have as many as I do in Australia and the UK is, again, I never thought I'd have this many like international friends, but here I am trying to coordinate 13-hour difference time zones and like.
I know that. Oh my God. I'm glad we were on the East Coast, because I was just like, I did an interview earlier, and it was in Pacific time, and the guy was like, "Oh man," he's like, "I forgot about it." It's like because of the time zones. And
Yeah.
I was like, time zones. That word now gives me like PTSD. It's just like it's like the
Exactly.
War
Yeah.
of 1812, and you're like, like you're having this moment of like time zones. So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but that's
Oh no, no,
I
it's just
respect the time zone stuff like that. That's a
yeah,
headache.
it's a shout out. It's so funny because there's a couple bands I've had on from like even Texas, and that's what 1 hour, 2 hour, depends
It's
where
one
you are
hour.
in
It's
Texas.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's one or
exactly.
two. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that throws me more than talking to someone like in the UK or Australia. Again, 6 or 13. I mean, I could do math that way, but 3 hours, forget it.
Yeah,
And now
done.
I
Over.
game with someone who's in Louisiana and another guy who's in Idaho, and we're all just like, "Hey, what time is it for me?"
You
Well, I
all
don't
have
know.
to look
Let's
at your
see.
clock and see.
Yeah,
You sync up your clocks to be like, yeah, I know
yeah,
that vibe.
right.
Yeah.
Now we're getting on. Yeah, exactly. So, but coming back, a local artist, man. There's a couple I have my eye on for sure, but I think if I could kind of dream interview, it would have to be a band that is now defunct called Bonehive.
Okay. Okay.
And I hate to say it, like that would be like I hopped entirely on their self-titled EP, and then I was talking to Kyle Perantu, and I'm still connected with him, and he's just like, yeah, man, it's no hard feelings. We're just not doing it anymore. And I was like, I'm literally when I heard your EP, I wanted to get you on, and then like I wasn't doing it like in-person interviews, but
Yeah. Yeah.
there's something coming down the road with him. But at the same time, it's just like getting that collective back together. There's so much talent in Philadelphia in general. I come from a small town, PA, where we barely got shows. I think like growing up, the like my first hardcore show was actually it was Jesus Wept, War of Ages.
Whew.
Um,
Okay. You're
boy,
throwing it back for me.
yeah,
I know these bands, so I can feel it. Okay.
yeah. See, it's like and this was like youth group me too. So like my youth leader took me to this show, and he's just like, "Yo, let's go rock," which was sick. I don't even remember the openers for that show, but it was a really good show up in Erie, PA, and War of Ages was
They're nuts.
45 minutes from me. They're actually relatively local because I grew up outside of Erie. Red is another one.
Oh my god.
They were only like
Yeah.
20 minutes from me, and my youth leaders knew those guys. And now it's coming back around to like the point that I could interview those guys. This is weird, like they. So in terms of local is relative when it comes to like PA and Philadelphia. So there's a lot of like big names, but at the same time, like I'm never gonna compete with someone like Alt Press per se. So like,
Oh,
if
don't say
I
that.
can,
Shoot for
maybe.
the stars, bud.
I mean, I'm not ruling it out. Let's just put it that way. But in terms of like, when Andrew and I were talking about what the blog would be, we knew that bringing in artists such as like Silent Planet Silent Planet was actually relatively small,
Yes.
so to speak. But
Up
like,
until,
if you wanted to get
yeah.
like Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse, or My Chemical Romance, or someone like that who Alt Press has on all the time,
Yeah.
you're just like, my publication will never get even close to their reach, and again, I'm not ruling it out. No, I'm not saying it, but like when we started, I was like, I want to focus on bands who don't get that recognition.
Sure,
like
yeah.
all those bands, and it's fantastic for them, and I love all those bands. Like they already get the coverage. I want to get the bands on that don't get the coverage, that people are just breezing by, like the people that again, not a criticism, and everyone but the people who have A Day to Remember or Falling in Reverse or Bring Me the Horizon in their routine playlist and don't stray too much, I want to bring these to their attention, because like there's so many bangers in here that you're just like, how do you not stray? I get it.
I
I get both.
I feel that. I feel that immensely because that's like again a very ethos thing to me for audio addiction is like I've tried to find all these like very obscure small bands that need the love, deserve the love, all that sort of stuff. But at the same point, I'm like, if I get these larger bands, then there's more of a chance that people will check out these smaller bands that are on like my interview roster, and
Valid
so
point.
I'm like, if somebody likes I the Mighty, then they might like this band, or they might like this band, or they might like this band that's on the list. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I found out about this band because I saw you interview them. And I was like, they're awesome. Like, how did I not know about them? And I'm just like, exactly my point is that no one knows about them. And that's the whole reason why, like, that
Right.
I'm doing this whole YouTube thing is like you were saying, there's so many bands out there that deserve a lot more time a day. And unfortunately, I would say a good majority of them, fall to the wayside, and people forget about them, and that sucks. And that's what I'm hoping
Right.
to not happen. So
Yeah, of course. And I think it's, every up and comer zine host dream is to like keep these bands going. Like there's a subculture within a subculture,
oh,
and it's
100%.
incredible. It's so supportive. It's such a family, and especially all the local bands I've
Oh, 100%.
ever met around here are usually the most genuine. Like a lot of them are my best friends now, and I'll be honest. I came across the state from Erie when I came down for college, and I didn't really have friends around here. And then like once I got out of college, I was like, let's
Let's go
join
to
the
shows.
music scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to shows. I made friends. And I'm here. Like
Yeah.
now we're here. It's you never know what can happen in the course of that's been going on 10 years now. So
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I also have this side tangent a little bit. You did mention like War of Ages, so I have to feel like I have to give my
please.
spiel. So
Yo, I
my
talk for hours.
my first show was RevGen. I don't know if you remember that. It's like Revelation Generation. It was
Oh,
like
yeah. Okay.
for like a little bit. And the year I went the lineup was primo metal, like Christian metalcore. It was Devil Wears Prada, August Burns Red, Before Their Eyes,
Yep.
Norma Jean, The Chariot. It was just like all the classics, the classic metalcore hits,
Goodness.
And I was
Yeah.
I was just like hyped. I still actually have, and it's probably still one of my favorite things, and I'm not even sure if ABR knows it, but like I have a shirt that they signed on like the back part of my shirt, and I still have that. It's still one of my treasured like pieces. And so
Is it framed yet though?
it's not framed, but I probably
Okay.
will get it framed at
Yeah.
some point. But I love that shirt to death. It was like the like the atypical like emo kid shirts with like the stars, and it was like half white, half black. Like the atypical like
yes.
sceeny
Like
weenie shirt.
circa 2006.
Yes, that's 100%. And so
Yep.
I was just like, couldn't figure a better shirt to like have their signatures on.
My goodness.
So that one,
I feel like you need to take it to a show now and get them all to sign it again.
currently, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
be
currently.
Like, hey,
be like,
remember-
hey, you were
you
were
won't
kicking
remember
back
this,
then.
yeah. You won't
You
remember
don't
this.
have any idea who I am.
But then I ironically met Matt Greiner at an Angels and Airwaves show. I was just like shooting. I had interviewed one of the bands that was on that bill, and
Yeah.
I was like, that looks a lot like Matt Greiner. And I'm like, that can't be Matt Greiner. Like, there's no way. My luck would be so impeccable if it was Matt Greiner. I was just like, no, that's Matt Greiner, 100%. And I was like, so I took my camera out, I like
Shoot
closed
your
it
shot,
out,
man.
and I just walked up to him like, yo, Matt, I'm like, I'm sure you don't know who I am, but I was like, I definitely know who you are. And I was just like, I'm a huge ABR fan. And I was just like, I've seen you guys play more times than I can count on my hand. And I was just like, I do a YouTube channel. I'm like, all this sort of stuff. I was like, I'd really love to interview you guys. Like, you're one of my all-time favorite bands still to this day. And I was just like, and then we just had like a cool conversation. He was super nice. And then I was just like,
Oh yeah.
I was like, I don't want to seem like that guy, but I was like, can we get like a photo together? And he was with his girlfriend, and he was just like, hey, can you like take a photo of us? And she was like, yeah, no problem. So then she took a photo, and he's just like, honestly, he's like, I wasn't expecting anybody to know who I was at an Angels and Airways show. And I was just
Right.
like, and I was like, true, I get that. But he's like, you picked a pretty good opportune time though, because I feel like most people who like our music probably do not like Angels Airwaves. So I was just
Right,
like,
right, yeah.
yeah,
No,
that's
no,
awesome.
I'm in the same boat. I'd be a Blink like boxcar race. I got the vinyls like I'm a kid. I'm still there. It's
Yeah,
it never gets
100%.
old. Yeah.
So I feel like I had to give that little
Oh
Christian
yes,
spiel back in the day,
dude.
you know.
That's how like it's funny enough. Dave Vincent and I, the graphics guy for Dear Untitled, he and I met at church camp actually. So he
Oh,
lived
wow,
in
yeah.
PA. Yeah, I know. So you have to go the whole cliche like, okay, you guys were like such rebels, all that. Ooh, like,
Yeah, I know the
and
vibe. Yeah.
my parents were just like, what is that noise when I played?
Oh.
Who was it? Who was it? There was like an old Christian rap group, which people laugh just over like Christian rap to
Oh
begin
yeah,
with,
yeah,
like
to begin
especially
with.
like 2005, but they were called Grits. And my parents were like,
Oh
"Turn
my
that
god.
trash
I
off!
know a
Like it's
grit. I know
terrible!"
grit.
Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, all right, like I'm cool with it. But Dave and I actually connected a lot over Devil Wears Prada, and like just the title. I mean, that's kind of what dragged me in, and then I've been a huge Under Oath fan. So
Yeah,
like
100%.
when they came through Philly to Union Transfer on their farewell tour,
Oh,
like
you were at that show?
I
You were
was
at I
definitely
was
at
at
that
I
show.
was at that show too. Oh wait.
Yo, oh
Okay, now
man,
I got to get something. You're going to freak
oh,
out.
is it the poster?
Yeah.
Oh
But
yes.
wait, it's better. Oh my god.
Do 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 do. No.
I've yet to hang it up yet, but
Oh, you got the custom?
yeah. And
Ooh,
it's also signed by all of them. I don't know if you can see it, but it's
bro,
right here in the middle. So
bro. I didn't.
most easily most prized possession,
Oh
100%
my
hands
gosh,
down.
I just have the casket one, and it's
Oh, so,
framed. It's the 20 same size,
same
like it's
size, yeah.
framed, and like it's not signed, but I don't have like the Philly specific date.
Yeah, I had the
Oh
Philly
man,
specific one. I was like, I was like, what can I get? Like, I was just like, I have so many
yeah,
shirts, so I was just like, I can't get the
right,
shirt. I was like, I'll get the poster. There's only 100 posters per show, so I'm like,
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
get the Philly date.
I did get that gray shirt, and I definitely still have it.
Oh, I have
Almost
that too.
wore it for this too.
I
Yeah.
have that too. The one that has like the orange like logo on it. It says like Under Oath, or maybe not.
No, I have the one with the year lines, like the tick marks on it. Yeah,
That's
I
so
know.
cool.
There's
Okay.
so much good stuff, but like when that happened, what was that? 2013 or so? I was just like, there goes my soul. Like
Yeah,
there,
100%.
that like my childhood is it over? I don't know what to do with myself. Like
I know that vibe. Did you go to the they're only chasing safety divine, like the two
I
albums
did
back to
not.
back?
I had tickets for it and got sick, and I was like, yeah,
Oh,
oh yeah.
dude.
I was like, yeah, I can't make
That
it.
was that
And actually, funny enough, Dave almost flew out here. He's the one in Idaho, and he almost flew out here just to go because they weren't coming close to
yeah,
Boise. I
I
mean,
can
who
imagine.
goes to
Yeah.
Boise?
Yeah.
Not me.
Rip.
Potatoes do.
Potatoes do, yeah. That's the only bands that go out there is
Yeah.
band members that are in like farm in the farming community.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry,
But
Dave.
honestly though, like ABR and bands like that, like from Lancaster especially, like that's the scene that loves that kind of stuff.
Oh,
And
100%.
like there's nothing like that's how I came up. Like I was in a agricultural rural community, and look, that's how I found it. If you are familiar with Jesus Wept,
I am,
uh,
yeah.
their lead singer was my youth leader's kid's high school teacher.
Oh my god, that is
And
like
that is, I think, is what really kind of like brought me to the realization that like, even though I'm just kind of like a fanboy, I can meet these people because they are real people. They're not
yeah.
like, like again, one day I would love, like, if there was a dream kind of like you could meet any artist ever, like I'd love to just sit down with Ronnie Radke for an hour and be like,
What are
what
you
is your
doing?
brain like? Yes, like I mean, he
What
could
are
see
you
anything.
doing with
Like,
your life? Yeah.
he's one of those people I think view, and whether it's my fandom or whatever it may be, I feel like he's a very down to earth person, but someone on a platform that I would never be able to like access. Whereas like
Okay, yeah.
people we talk to in the smaller bands, it's like weird because you show up, and of course every local band loves when you come to their show, of
Yes,
course.
which you should
Um,
anyway. Just a PSA
well,
to everybody.
like the one thing I was thinking about, this is a complete side note right now.
It's all
Um,
good.
I,
Let's keep going.
I, the one thing, the meme I saw was I missed the days like in quarantine when I could tell that like hit going on a local show and just not show up. Like, no, I do not miss that. I'm kidding. I saw this meme going around and someone's like, please, it was along the lines of like someone's
Oh.
please stay home just like you do when pretend
Oh,
your
I
local
saw that.
band
I
is
saw
playing
that.
shows
Oh.
tonight.
That I could feel like I
So
had to
bad.
pull the knife out of my back after
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
over.
I was like, ooh, you got me. You got me. People, yeah. Yeah, but back to like Ronnie Radke, connecting to people and artists like we do, it's like you never really dream of that, and then you like think back and you're like, wow, so and so knew this person and they were just an average person. Like,
Yeah.
average being relative, of course. Like I always view musicians because I can't really do it myself. Like I did like chorus and like band and played trumpet. I mean, trumpet doesn't really, unless you're less than Jake, where does that fit in a metal band? I don't
That's
know. Like,
true.
yeah. So it's like I have the utmost respect for these people, but they're just like you and me, and
Yeah.
that's the coolest thing. That like I think when fans make that connection, and if I can bring that connection to fans, because all these artists, as you know, love interacting with their fans, even
Yeah.
the big ones, even August Burns Red. They loved seeing these fan videos. It's just a weird kind of like, I don't know if it's anxiety or like just intimidation factor, but like when Glass Hands came through Philly, I was just like, I went to their show and I was terrified to meet them, but
Great
they're just
band
guys
too.
like, yeah, oh my gosh, I love them. Got that poster, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
But I also feel like, and whenever I talk to other people about this genre of music and they're like, "Oh my god, like you met the person that's in that band." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're like Facebook friend. We'll message each other like back and forth. Like it's like no issue." And they're like, "What?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's cool. Like shout outs to Picturesque. Like we'll like text each other back and forth like all the time. Like and it's no
That's what
big
I'm
deal.
saying.
It's like no big deal, but other people that like don't understand it are just like you are literally messaging a band that's like touring, like they're doing like they're
Yeah,
going to like Australia, they're going to Japan, or they're going to like whatever, and I'm like, yeah,
exactly.
it's like what's like I don't get it, I don't understand why you're so confused, and then I realize I'm like, wait, like if we took that same sort of thing and we like put it to like Ariana Grande, for example, like no way,
Yeah,
like it would just be nuts, so I
exactly.
get it.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you were BFFs with like Justin Timberlake or something,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I can understand the shock and awe. Like that's, um, yeah, it's so strange because especially during like this Corona fiasco, let's call it, um, there's artists that are like I've connected with, again, Facebook friends, which just terrifies me when I hit accept. Like especially or what more so when I send it. I'm just like, I know this guy from interviewing you, but do we know each
Do
other?
we
Let's
really know
find
each
out.
other?
Here's
Yeah.
here's my friend request. Oh snap, they accepted it. Oh boy. Like, but no, there's people like across the ponds here that have reached out and been like, yo, how's America holding up? Like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And not even getting into just well being, like
Yeah,
asking
human.
and like
Yeah.
being and that just floors me. I mean,
100%.
like it's the connect again. They're normal people, and I love them to death, all of them. And now that like again, but there are people who are just like, wait, you're friends with this person? Like I'm friends with Matt Tybor from the Bunny the Bear,
Oh, nice. Matt
like
Tybor.
a
Yeah.
big throwback. And I mean, I know he friends a lot of people who like listen to the band, and he plays games and everything. And like, so it's not necessarily like elite, let's put it that way. And I don't need it to be. But again, they're from Buffalo, like right outside of, relatively speaking, right outside of Erie.
Here,
And
yeah,
like,
close. Yeah.
I grew up on it. Like it's weird being friends with your childhood idols
Yeah, yeah,
to some
yeah.
extent, or even your current idols. And that's just the whole, everyone has that moment, and everyone's like, you're friends with like people that I'm amazed, just
Yeah.
still shocked by it. I don't. it's a strange dynamic. I think that's the best way I can phrase it.
I also feel like, I also feel like it's just really cool to like know someone from like another country. Like shout outs to my boy Andy. He was the first interview I had ever done, and he was from Japan, which was like, is just nuts. And he still lives in Japan, so shout outs to him. But like, I'll be messaging him about like Pokemon stuff because there's like a Pokemon Center in Japan, and I'm just like, yo, can you give me those exclusives, like something? I was like, I'll send you that money, and then you can send it back to me. I'll be blessed if I got some like Pokemon stuff from Japan. And and we'll message back and forth about like video games and stuff, and like normal like shoot the shit sort of things. And
Yeah.
it's just, and as you were mentioning, like I know a few different Australian bands, so like whenever I talk to them, it's always really cool. And I know a lot of like European, UK people, and it's just like wild. Like it is so, like people were like, you interviewed somebody from Italy, and I was like, yeah, I did. I just interviewed somebody from Italy. Yeah, definitely. And it's just like, to me, it's just like, just normal day shit, and
I think exactly. Like my wife rolls her eye. I'm like, hey, I get, especially with this one too. I was like, hey, I got an interview tonight, and she's like, what? Okay, sure. Like at this point, she's gotten so used to like the time zone coordination and me just like popping into the office and like figuring stuff out that she's like, all right, whatever. Like that's cool. Like
do you, yeah.
Right, exactly. But like it's become so routine now that she's like, oh, whatever. But like when it first started, like I probably got so worked up, and I was just like, I'm so nervous. I'm talking to this person. Like I
don't even like I don't really know anything about them. Yeah, what do I say to them? I don't want to look like an idiot. Yeah.
Right. I do like hours of research ahead of it's all part of it. But like once you kind of hurdle that, it's cool. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'm glad you felt the same way about it. I feel like now I'm not nearly as nervous because like obviously I've been doing it for 4 years.
Right.
But like there's every once in a while I'll get nervous about certain things, like but generally I'm pretty. I think once I conquered the I the Mighty hill, which because they're my favorite band. Once I conquered that hill, I was like, I can pretty much interview anybody.
Absolutely.
Maybe the only two people I would get really nervous about interviewing would be ABR, Devil Wears Prada, or a personal Christian classic, Reliant K. If I got to interview them, I would be on cloud 9. I don't know if they're really still doing too much.
Pink Tux to the Prom, baby.
Oh man, I love that.
In love with the 80s.
I love that stuff. I still love that stuff. I mean,
score. Okay, I need your opinion. 5 score and 7 years ago.
Best record, easy, hands down.
Yes.
Hands down, no question.
I tell that to everyone.
100%.
Like,
it's just a little bit aggressive. There's just like a little bit of aggressiveness in there. There's some like really beautiful melodic tracks, and it's got Deathbed. I mean, come on.
Yes.
That's the best. I think that was literally the first song I like really got like teary-eyed and like cried because I was just like, that's so hard. And the song is like 15 minutes long, which is just like
and
to capture the attention of somebody for like
Foreman of Switchfoot. He's on the end of that.
I think he is, which is even better.
I forget. Yeah, exactly. I love Switchfoot too. So it's like, when that came in, I found that out. I was again floored. And I was like, whoa, he's like came in as Jesus on the song, no less. Like,
so I would say that. I would say that, and then maybe I'd probably put as second. Just because
I could agree with that.
The nostalgia, it has the Consequences. Who I Am Hates Who I've Been, Be My Escape, like, all the classics. And I can hear them in my head now.
Exactly.
Because I'll get copyrighted,
Yeah, exactly. For the longest time, I had 2 lefts don't make a right, but 3 do.
That's a good one,
I had that in my old, like, CD alarm clock. And, like, I woke up to the, I can't.
Is it Sadie Hawkins
song. No. It was just like Hawkins, the first. Yeah. That's a great song.
That's a great song, yeah.
But, the first track, and it was stuck in my head for years. And like I can hear it in my head, but I forget the name of it now. But it's PTSD. Why not?
Yeah.
Reliant K. You're like the first person who has agreed with me that it's hands down their best record.
Honestly, somebody can fight. You can fight me. I don't care. If somebody watches this thing, you want to fight me out in the streets and say that there's a better Reliant K record, go on ahead, because I can guarantee you will not find a more diverse record.
Let's put it out there right now. If you want to be on one of our episodes, we'll do we'll tag team and we'll go all out about Reliant K. Straight up.
hundred
That's just
percent,
what.
100%. Nick and I will tag team you
Yeah,
if you don't
it's
believe
gonna
that
be
that is the
the
best. If you don't believe
WWE.
that, if you don't believe that's the best Reliant K record,
Yeah,
that
Philly
is
likes to fight, so let's fight.
we. That's true. You're right. We do. Even though it's hilarious because I'm a pacifist, so like don't want to
Yeah,
fight
I don't fight.
him.
I'm too lazy to fight. Are you kidding? I'm either gaming or listening to music. I don't
That's
think I
true.
have it in between.
It's but anyway, next question, Nick. Obviously, I like to ask some band questions because it's always interesting to get somebody that's not in a band's perspective.
Yeah.
So, the first question would be, who have you been jamming recently? Like, what's on Nick's hottest list? What is the fire stuff that Nick's bringing?
Oh man, it's my time to shine. Let's see. So I've been Masterpiece Theater by Mariana's Trench has
Ooh,
been like my go-to for a while, and again, that's like taking it back. Um, the new track, I believe it's the latest track, Visions by the Bunny the Bear,
nice.
and definitely Voyager by Blue Shift, their new album. Um, what's there's I just posted them the other day. I can't think of it, but I mean, there's. Let's see who else.
I'll help you out
Off my head.
while you're looking. I'll go sneakily look on
Yeah. Oh,
on
Neon
Facebook.
Neon Graves, absolutely. Variant. That's who I was thinking of.
Okay, there you go.
Variant
Got it.
and Astasia, both great bands. But that's pretty much been my like top quarantine lately. Just tonight I was listening to some Red, some Reliant K.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was in that mindset. I think it's just like I'm stuck inside, kind of reliving the past a little
The
bit,
nostalgia, yeah.
but the nostalgia moment, yeah, yeah. So
Um,
that's where I'm at.
I like those picks. I feel like if there was ones that I could recommend, the new August Burns Red record, because I know
Yeah.
that is fire. That is
I
like
I'm not gonna lie, I have not listened yet,
listen to it.
but I need to.
That's on
Yeah,
the list. That should be on the list.
yeah.
If you're a fan of like Constellations and like Leveler and like Messengers,
Messengers was top. Yeah,
100%. That
yeah,
10-year
yeah,
fire, loved it.
yeah, yeah.
Constellations tour also fire as well. So gotta give them the love for that. I
Of
do like
course.
the picks. I like that you're choosing the non like big bands.
Oh yeah.
That's always a smooth. I appreciate that. Keeping to the brand. I appreciate that.
Yes. Yes. And again, like you've reached out to me with a couple bands. Like I've tried to include a bunch of people. I have a Dear Untitled Discoveries playlist over on Spotify. And I think I'm probably pushing over 120 songs. It's just artists that I either have put out music that are smaller that need some attention and or some really good ones that are just out there because like it's essentially like a 2020 playlist. Like let's get it, let's focus. Like there's so many kind of obscure people on there that I just love to death, and it's just whatever the track is, it's so good.
My favorite is when you put on like an artist that you like for example, I was listening to like the Silent Planet radio, and then I just had some bands that like didn't even know came on, like
Yeah.
some like real like obscure like small band, and they just kind of like threw in, and I paused the track. I've been pausing the tracks. I'm like, yo, this is tight. Like, how did they know? Like, how do they like the algorithm? I don't care. Like, sometimes
Yeah.
people can complain about how much they make on like Spotify, but I was like, whoever is doing the algorithms on this is god tier, because I was like, I find some really good bands when
Yeah.
like when radio comes on. And then obviously like Silent Planet, shout out to Silent Planet, love you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're great too, but I'm just like, I'm always stoked when I find like a band that's just like brutal, like just like I'm like, how
Yeah.
did I not know about these guys? Like, that's
Well,
awesome.
especially like I think the gems are genuinely like the bands either you find like that and have like all of 200 monthly listeners or less, and you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, this is
They ground
this
level,
is
baby.
quality
Yeah.
material.
Yeah.
Let's take them to the top. And then the other ones are like bands that reach out to you for coverage, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
this is what I can get behind. Like, this is top quality. Like, because you try to like get everyone that contacts you some sort of publicity, some sort
Sure.
of time, and it's just, as a smaller kind of operation, it's hard to get to everyone fairly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know that.
like the inbox is always
It's like,
on like
yeah, it's like
yeah, it's
email,
funny.
like
Yeah,
Twitter notification, like
right,
Instagram DM,
exactly.
all this
And
stuff.
then like I guess my biggest concern always when I'm doing things, and this is just kind of like a self-conscious thing, but like a bigger part of me starting the blog, I think, was I was a little fed up with alternative press, and that's just
100%.
my own
Same.
take. And I'm just like, can we stop it with the MCR? Like, I understand, I get it.
We all
Like,
get it. Yeah.
can we stop it with the escape the fate, like falling in reverse beef? I get it. It exists. Like, et cetera, et cetera. And then it started going like mainstream and like Billie Eilish, and like, again, nothing wrong with any of that news at all. And I was like, someone out here, like I used to go to like alternative press for the small guys. They've started coming back around from what I've seen.
Which is good.
Like,
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
yeah,
Too.
and they featured, like, for instance, my friends in I don't think midfield was on it, but goalkeeper was on it.
Shout out to goalkeeper. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like local bands that have like made playlists, and it's like that is really like you're coming back to what you were. Like, everyone can look up in Google Billie Eilish just because
Yeah, because she's
there's
massive.
news from everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and rightfully so. Like, she deserves all the credit.
100%.
But like, kind of, the scene's not just the top pop like icons anymore. Like,
Yeah.
bring us the news we grew up like Warped Tour on.
Yeah. I think
You
that's like, but I also feel like, listen, I feel like you shouldn't have said that, Nick, because now they're gonna do it, and like we're gonna be out of jobs.
Shoot.
So I feel like,
I retract all of that.
okay,
Alternative press.
I'll cut
is
it out. They're the
yeah.
worst. Okay, that's what we're gonna. No, I'm just kidding. I won't cut it out.
The
But
worst. No, please.
I said it. You didn't say it. So
Oh, so that's my personal take. Let me clarify. That is my personal take of like, it's not, I did this as kind of like a statement of like
a
and
jab.
I think, like, not necessarily a jab, but like I think it kind of boils down to the same mentality of the best music comes from artists in times of political turmoil. For
Yeah.
instance, Sum 41, Green Day, and all of them had fantastic albums in the last election. Like, those were probably the best heat they've brought.
Yeah.
And it's just like, when you want to see a difference, you have to take that step to make the difference. And I guess
100%.
that's what kind of like pushed me into the blog of like, I want to see these bands get recognized.
100%.
Let's.
So I think Widmore got in an AP press thing. So
Yeah.
I was proud dad mode right there, because I think
Exactly. Yeah.
Whenever you see that, you're just like, oh, my babies are growing up. So I'm so happy for them.
Again, that's another kind of thing of it's just a strange moment to process when you see the artists like that who you're just like, they're mine. I discovered them. I want to keep them. Like, why aren't they coming through me for a release?
Yeah.
And then you see them on different like outlets, and you're like, no, hold on, step back, let them go. This is a great thing.
That's
They're
what you
getting
want.
the
That's what you
attention
want.
we wanted.
Yeah.
But I love them dearly.
Yeah.
Please come back. Like,
yes, please come back. And I know they'll come back to both of us.
Oh, of course, of course.
So I feel like if anything, bands like that are loyal. They're gonna stick with the people that were like at the very bottom, where like no one knew about them or anything.
Because day one, I mean,
day oneers. Nick and I are day oneers. Widmore day oneers. Let's just say that. We're
I
gonna put it
don't know
out on
if
the
I'm
internet.
Widmore day oneers.
I'm a
I've
Widmore
communicated
day
with
oneer.
them, but you are. Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to Black Sound, who just dropped their debut album, and they were talking in the interview on Dear Untitled podcast there that they were kind of day oneers, so to speak, with Bad Omens. And so Bad Omens do a lot of, again, great act and
band,
everything. And they're just like, oh yeah, we're buds. Like, we text them all the time. I believe they mixed and like mastered their whole album.
Oh, tight.
If I'm not mistaken. So again, they're very in, but it's like the day oneers. You find all these connections, and you're like, wow, okay, this is like this industry is so much smaller than I think anyone believes.
Oh,
Like
100%.
everyone knows everyone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I want to kind of come back to one thing that you had mentioned before. You said you're like you get all these emails and you're just like there's a lot of heat in the email but in the inbox, you know what I'm saying? So, what was one band that you like open the email and you're just like, "Oh my god, like I need to tell everybody. I need to shout this on a rooftop like somewhere. I need to go tell everybody about this band." Like, well, I feel like I know one of them, and I'll call it out now. I feel like Blue Shift. I checked them out because I was like, Nick is on these guys, so I'm like, they have to be good. Like, so I check out all of this stuff, and some of the bands I like do know, so I'm like, okay, I know they're
Right.
good. But Blue Shift, I like didn't know, and I was like, yeah, these are good. This is good. Like, I could understand why he
It's
backs them hard, you know?
Oh yeah. No, funny enough, Blue Shift wasn't one that came to us. Like
Interesting.
I found them again when I was like in my
the the
weird,
email. Yeah, I got you.
yeah, whatever it was. I'm like, because again, when I reached out to Avoid and them and Mayfield, and it's just like, hey, I am brand new at this. Do you want to be on issue 1 of Dear Untitled? Like, I have no idea what this is, but let's go for a ride.
Yeah,
And so Blue Shift actually, like, that was heat in the inbox, of course, after I reached out to them and was terrified. I had all this formal outline of like,
yeah.
hi guys, I am,
I'm
very,
Nick
very,
from
you
Dear
know,
Untitled. Yeah, I got
yeah,
that vibe.
Dear
Yeah.
Untitled is the music, but yeah. But the best heat I probably had, I think, was Bad Move. Again, New
Ooh,
England
okay.
hardcore. And I think they showed up in the inbox, and then Scout the Pioneer was another one that came to us. Again, kind of showing a bias on my end in terms of like towards the hardcore like beatdown kind of sound, because I mean, long live the extortionist. Yeah, it's one of those like I always fall back into it, and then let's see, yeah, I mean I think most of the bands that come on, or at least I get interviews with, I've kind of initiated contact, just based on again weird Spotify like radio
Yeah.
finds, or I like listening to one of the artists I already like, and then going to the find
Like
other
similar
people
similar
get similar
artists. Yeah.
artists, and then I dig so far down, and the worst feeling
You're like
ever is
underground. You're just like
yeah,
you're just
and
like
the worst feeling ever is finding the band that you fall in love with and you're jamming and you're like, let me go look these guys. Oh, they broke up. Oh,
yeah, and then it's just like
oh shoot.
then it's just like
Yeah,
real sad boy moment. I feel
yeah,
that, but
exactly. Yeah,
I understand that.
yeah.
That's the worst.
But yeah, so Bad Move I think was probably the best heat coming into the inbox. There's a pop punk band. Is it with Friends Like These?
I
I
think it is.
think.
I think it is with friends like these. I'm almost
Yeah,
positive. Yeah.
and if I recall correctly again, I think they're
You get a
local
lot
to
of emails.
Philly.
I know
Yeah,
the
I
vibe.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to forget names or anything, but they're all great bands.
Yes.
Um, they had a great EP they came with, and it's just always pleasantly surprising to see the artists that pop in. I mean, all of them in general. You're just like, yeah, I'm gonna like go in with an open mind, listen to your stuff, and wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
But the shout out from the rooftops, Bad Move, 100%.
Ooh, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Shout outs to Bad Move. If any of the bands that Nick talked to would like to come on, I'm not trying to say that to plug my own stuff, but
Oh,
like if you want to
he's
come
trying
on,
to rob me of my
I
job.
am
Like, see, this is
exactly. Yeah,
direct
this was
competition.
it. This was the real nail in the coffin. I was just like, I just want to invite Nick on so I could just like bash him
Yeah,
over the head so I can take his
yeah.
all of his artists now.
In Philly, true Philly style, I
True
must
Philly
say.
style. Yeah, I
Minus the cheesesteak. If
gotta
we
go
were
hard. I'll give you the cheesesteak and then
okay,
I'll
there you go.
bash you over the head.
Yeah, there
So
you go. Yeah.
there you go. Uh, no, but and any bands that I've done, seriously, go to Nick. He does a great
Oh
job. So
shucks. Yeah, I'd
go
love
on
to.
his stuff.
Yeah.
It's an inverse. We're not. See, you didn't let me finish my sentence. I wasn't trying to. This. I have a lot of love. Philly shows a lot of
I
love. So I
I
got.
know. I know. Man,
But
I'm just hoping. Like, I don't know if you went to Fam Fest last year.
I didn't go last year, but I was
Okay,
planning on going this year because everybody and their mother has been like, "Yo,
bro.
you
It's
dumb idiot,
oh
go
my
to
gosh.
FamFest." And shout out to Dom.
Yeah.
Dom does a great job of putting that
See,
together.
I have yet to meet him, but I know people who are like best buds with him,
He's
and it's
great.
just like one day I got to meet him, and, of course. But yeah, he does. I'm really hoping none of this virus stuff messes that up, because that's like the light at the end of my tunnel right now. And best part is this year it's over like July 4th weekend, or
So
supposed to be.
it's great. You have the
And
time
my
off.
right, and my birthday is July 3rd. So like,
Ooh.
can it get any better? You know, like, let's
Shout
just
out
go rock the hell
Mama
out.
Z. Mama Z's her birthday is July 3rd too. So
There
you
you
share.
go.
So I'll remember it. I got
Mama Z.
Mama Z's got it. So, but the next question, Nick, another band related question. If you were to compile a dream tour, who'd be on the lineup? Who's on the Nick Dear Untitled festival?
Man, I was just talking with someone about this. So
Now you're putting it into literal internet writing.
again, I'm not trying to like forget it, because I know I'm gonna forget someone. If I put a dream tour together, it would definitely include Blue Shift, Variant, Glass Hands, probably everyone I've talked about tonight, midfield, goalkeeper. I mean, there's Neon Graves, absolutely. Like, some of the biggest homies are just people I've had on, like, and I just want to see, like, when this kind of going down our avenues here, when Mayfield and the Danger of Falling did their tour, that was my dad moment. I was like, my proud, like, you go get it, boys. You were on the same
I'm
issue
so
of Dear
happy for you.
Untitled.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you found each other, but you both rock. So go
And now
get
you're
it.
on tour together.
Yeah,
You should have just been
exactly.
like, "Can I sponsor this tour?" And just be like, "The Dear Untitled tour." You know?
Honestly, like, and like, that's part of kind of like why the lineup I'm talking about right now may or may not be coming up with like a little compilation coming out. May or may not, a little secret, but there's a lot of stuff in the works right now on my end, and I'm talking to a couple bands to get some kind of a DU compilation going. Whether it pans out, I just want to keep people busy and keep my friends active during quarantine. That's all. So we'll see if ends meet.
There we go. That's a
Yeah.
solid. That is a solid group. And then the last thing, obviously, you're pretty like, well, not the last thing, the second to last thing. So you're pretty, like, I would say
You're letting me out of here soon.
newish to doing this thing. But if there was any advice you could offer some people that like want to start a zine or want to start like a music podcast or something like that, what are some things that you were like, I've been doing this for some bit, like what type of advice can I offer them? Because I know I get asked that sometimes about what I do, so I'm
Yeah.
always curious if there is maybe something that I don't know that maybe you can pass off to the viewers.
I mean, you've probably echoed some similar things that I'm going to say, but I think if you're watching and you want to do something, whether it's photography or I mean, really any passion in life, whether it's music related, zine
Yeah.
related, just go for it. I mean, your anxieties for like the amount of nights I still like stayed awake and I was like panicking over what people thought of like my album reviews.
I
Like,
know. I used to be
people
that
can
way. Yeah.
tell, yeah, exactly. People can tell when you're genuine, and that
100%.
goes for both the artist and the consumer, let's call them, the readers, the people
Yeah.
who listen to this and follow. Like, you and I talking, like, people can tell that we're like genuinely supportive, I think, of bands, or at least I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
we're in this game not to profit. We're in this game like same as everyone else, starting from the bottom, want to bring up the homies. And as they get bigger, we might get bigger, but it doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything to us. Like, get into what you do because you love it. Like, right now, essentially my goal is I want to work out of my full-time job and make this something that I can potentially live off of.
Yeah.
But is that for like probable? Maybe one day. I just, right now it's like, pursue your dream and know that it will be a time investment, but don't be afraid. Don't let your anxiety keep you from that. Like, even if it's a little chunk at a time and you just drop, especially a zine, even if you reach out to one band every 2-3 months, it doesn't matter. Make that connection. Don't be shy to reach out to them on Facebook. Facebook, and here's a little social media trick. Facebook is the most, like, the place I get the most response from.
Yeah.
When I
same.
reach out to artists, they will almost always respond to
Because
Facebook.
everybody has a Facebook.
Right.
That's the real truth of
Exactly. Yeah.
it.
Twitter, email, they may not see that shit for weeks,
Yeah.
but Facebook, they'll
Facebook,
be
they
on
will.
it in like an hour.
Yeah, because we're all under quarantine, so you'll see. I'll
Well,
see Nick's
especially
message.
now.
I'll see Nick's message in like -5 seconds. You know,
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So like if you ever want to connect with people, again, just be sincere. Be like,
yeah.
"Hey, I love your stuff." Like you and I have probably just gushed to artists and you're
Oh,
like,
100%. Yeah.
"I love your stuff. I can't get enough. This is so good," etc. The amount of stuff I cut out of my podcast, it's just like people don't want to hear that. Like
They do. I
yeah, I
feel like
know.
I feel like they do, and I'm not trying to cut you off or anything, but
No, no, they do.
I do feel that way because like it shows that you're genuine about it. Like you care
Right.
because you're like gushing because you're like I wish they were bigger. Like that. That's the whole
Yeah,
reason.
no, I'm just saying like me just going on tangents, for instance, and I'll drop it just because like we're here and platform. But
Sure.
Blue Shift is recording a quarantine video for their track Tetra, and I'm like obsessed with that track, and I want an acoustic of that track, and like me kind of going on about it when I was interviewing them, it's just like I love this track for X Y Z, like this and that and the other thing. And like when I say it like 4 times when I listen back through the podcast, people only want one.
They just they want the cut to the point. The one time you said it, not
Yeah,
like the
exactly.
not the
Yeah,
7 other times you said it. Yeah,
because
I
let's
got
be
that.
real, I have the attention span of a hamster too. So
Same. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You gotta like choreograph that. But if you're making, for instance, like I go online and Reddit and like follow like smaller designers really. Like I was trained at college as an architect and I'm definitely big into graphics. A lot of like there's so many, for instance, like Widmore, is it Jeremy who does all the art?
Jeremy does, yeah, a majority, if not all, the art. Shout out to Jeremy. Love you,
Yeah,
too.
and even his like personal page and all his stuff he puts out, it's very inspiring. Like find things if you're going into a project, find different people doing their hobbies that inspires you. And I think a lot of like what drove me into music was the album art. Like back in the
Yeah.
day, people, I mean, even still, people have great album art. But like when it was just wild whatever
Yeah.
stuff. Like
The one I can remember is like Plagues, where they had like the just
yes.
insane colors. And I
Yeah,
know we keep bringing
exactly.
up Devil Wears Prada, but I feel like they are
Right.
quintessential best.
Yes.
They have some of the best album art, and like Roots
Well,
Above, Branches
uh,
Below.
the other thing, yeah, exactly. And like the other band that comes to mind like that, again, Christian rock, my roots, Demon Hunter.
Yes, yeah, they've
Uh,
always got good.
their
They've always
their
got good stuff.
vocalist, like my buddy Dave is like obsessed with their stuff, and he always has, and he's been kind of like with how passionate he is with graphic stuff. He'll send me things, I'll send him things, and especially getting into like the marketing aspect, you really begin to appreciate the dedication to what they do, as well as the craft in how things are made.
Oh,
And
100%.
that not only expands your brain and how you think about it, but also helps you come. In my own experience, it helps you approach your craft in a different method, because you say, "Oh, so and so did this. What if I try attacking this problem from this?"
Yeah.
And it becomes a game of problem solving. But at the same time, if you love what you do, you're going to invest both the time and the effort to make something happen.
And it's gonna show in your work too. Like if you're not passionate about it, like people like I had mentioned this in the first episode, but like I had shout outs to Dom, and I know I keep mentioning him, so he's probably gonna get sick and tired of it. But
As long
he
as you don't tag them 5 times on social.
that's
you'll
true.
be
You're
good.
right. I won't do that. But I was I was on the Sleep On It show that Goalkeeper was opening for, and I had this dude Dom come up to me. I have like my earbuds in, and I'm just listening to the show. I had like kind of a head cold, so I wasn't feeling like great. But I was like, I interviewed Sleep On It, so I'm like, I gotta go to this.
Oh, sick.
So I wind up going to it, and this guy taps me on the shoulder, and he's just like, "Hey, are you Brandon from Audio Addiction?" And I'm like, what? I was just like, are you sure you got the right?
That's
I was like,
wild.
are you sure you got the right guy? And he's just like, oh yeah, no, I know I have the right guy. And he's like, yo man, he's like, I didn't expect you to see you at the show. He's like, I've seen you at a few other shows in Philly. And he's like, I just felt like I was like super nervous and I didn't want to come up and say hi to you. I was like, dude, come up and say hi to me. It's not that big of a
Right.
deal. Like it's like I was like, and we had a great conversation, and it was awesome. Dom, shout out to Dom, like he was awesome,
Yeah.
and I was floored. I still am floored whenever I talk about it because I'm just like, who gives a shit about me? Like I'm just like I just do
And
this,
I
and
think I think that's the weirdest part of doing this is like
yeah.
as you come up with your friends who are coming up, people get intimidated by you.
Oh,
And you're like,
100%.
who am I?
Yeah, I'm just like
You know?
I was like I just love Goalkeeper, like the band I saw. Like I've
Yeah.
interviewed them
Oh my
twice.
gosh.
I was like sleep on it. I've interviewed them one time. They're sick. Like
Yeah.
like it's wild to me. So like when Dom came out to me and was like, "Yo, I'm a fan." I'm like, "Just add me on Facebook. We're not fan. We're not like you're
Right.
not a fan anymore. You're now a friend." Like it's just
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's just
Exactly.
nuts. And he's like, "Oh, what
It's
show are you
like
going to next?" and all this stuff. And it's
I
just
mean,
like
a
crazy.
local guy that I can shout out is Hate 56 Media,
Yes,
who like videotapes all the hardcore shows.
he's
Like
awesome.
he's incredible. I've never met the dude. Again, everyone knows him, but I don't yet. You know, like I want to meet him, but he's one of those guys that he's become such of a staple
Oh,
that people
100%.
are like,
Especially in
"Hey, is
hardcore
it?"
too.
Oh yeah, oh for sure, yeah. And he's one of those people who people would come up and be like, "Hey, are you?" You know, and like ask you that you're who you are, like just to confirm. Like I think
Yeah.
just same with Matt Griner and you and August Burns Red. Like, are you okay?
I
Like,
knew it was him. Like when I saw his face, I was like,
well,
I
exactly, but
just,
it's the same kind of hesitation happens, and I'm like, don't be like if you see me in public,
throw
I'll
a
talk your
cheesesteak
ear
at him.
off.
Yeah. Just kidding.
Please make sure it's like you're dressed up as Gritty too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's like come up and talk music with me. Like, and again, I circle everything back to a lot of just my inspiration to keep going in life is to support my friends
Yeah.
because like doing this, I have a passion for music. I just want to help others through this, and like for instance, I stream video games every now and then. I am not a streamer. I am not a Twitch guy at all, but I base my channel if people come in and talk music, let's talk music. Like if I can share more bands or
Yeah.
recommend you a playlist, let's talk music. You know, so
There we go.
it's
Well,
yeah.
that's some really great advice, Nick, and I have to co-sign all of it because I feel the same. I literally you took the words right out of my mouth, and so like I do appreciate it. And now is the time for you to do your plug. It's you got
Oh
as
boy.
much time as you want. Tell the people where they can find Dear Untitled out, what you got going on coming up, like any juicy secrets you would love to tell people. This is coming out in most likely May, so.
May.
Just
Oh,
just give
I
it
have
time.
some time then.
You have
Okay.
some time, yeah.
Let's see. Juicy Secrets. There is, and hopefully by then something more definite will be in the works. But there's thoughts to a compilation, playlist, album, something
Thingy.
throwback
Yeah.
thing. It's very fluid at the moment. I'm talking to a bunch of bands, PR guys, etc. Like because again, you know, I can't necessarily back it myself. As much as I would love to invest all of my stimulus check into it, it's just not feasible. Um, so that is kind of on the way, and I've been wanting to do that for a long time with the blog. It's funny, like I was going to make like finally get around, or I was starting to make the blog an LLC, and the whole quarantine hit. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta hang on to that money right now. Like, like you feel what I'm saying. Like I was like, because Dave and I are cooking up some merchandise coming along the way. I should have worn my hat. We got the
Oh,
which it's around socials. It's like a
I would have worn mine, but I feel like that would have been cheese, you know. So I
no,
didn't
no,
I
that
didn't
would
do it.
honestly you should wear it
I
every.
wore it on the first episode,
Oh, there you go, there you
so
go.
I feel
Yeah,
like I'm okay.
it's a snapback and it's got black on the front.
Ooh, even
Yeah,
better.
it's
Love
just
that.
like black, white letter.
Classic.
Like, well, yeah, exactly. Like, you know, cheesy, but who wouldn't wear that? That's the
You're right.
question.
I
Yeah,
would wear that.
right. Yeah, so you know, we're working on some merch lines. When that comes to fruition, I'm not quite sure. But in terms of content, I've been slacking a little bit with the podcast, but I got a couple guests lined up here in the future. Dear Untitled, you can find us all social media is at Dear Untitled. and you can reach us at nick@dearuntitled.com. That's the direct email. That's linked. Dearuntitled.com is our URL for the website. Website's beautiful. My buddy Dave just like turned that around. We're populating old articles from our former WordPress site over to it. So gradually, as we bring those on, it provides content we can kind of recirculate. But again, who doesn't love listening and discovering more bands now that we have a bigger base? Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on. Again, I run. If you have any questions, like hit Dear Untitled on the socials, or just my stuff on the socials. Just hit me up and let's talk music.
Seriously, I know I've plugged Nick a lot, but honestly, we have never talked. By the way, let me just be clear.
We talked once. Brandon stalked me into my Facebook message.
Correct.
And, yeah, I'm kidding. He hasn't stalked me, but like
you can call me
really
out.
not
I don't care.
No, it's all good, dude. It's funny because you popped in and I was like, I've never even heard of this. And then I looked, I was like, oh, he's established. Oh, okay. Look at that.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what this is about. But yeah, no, it's funny. Like we've just been back and forth. Like, hey, when works for you? Well, I'm moving this weekend. What works for you?
and you're like, well, we're all in your quarantine, so I guess it wouldn't happen. So
dude,
now we're here.
Bored for a month. So
there we go. Well,
just kidding. I'm working on Dear Untitled for a month.
There you go. That's telling the people the real truth.
Yeah.
But seriously, go check out Nick's stuff. Honestly, if there's anybody I can give a large cosign to, I mean, I feel like I give a large cosign to everybody on here. But
of course, yeah. I mean, that's how we do it. Yeah.
I have a real large cosign for Nick because honestly, he is very similar to what I do, and I'm not just saying that because like. It's like, yeah, he does the same exact thing as me. No, I mean, like, genuinely, he's very passionate about this music scene. He cares about what he does. The content he puts out is fantastic, and I would highly implore anybody watching this, if you literally sat through an hour of us BSing, please go check out his stuff.
It's the worst part about these podcasts.
It's great. It's all right.
Talk forever, and you're like, are people gonna listen to a 90-minute podcast?
I mean, if you watch the whole thing, the first episode's like over an hour. It's almost 2 hours long. So if you want to hear me just bullshit for 2 hours, then thank you. But yeah, seriously, go check out Dear Untitled. It's one of the best underground sites I've come across in a hot minute. I'll leave all the links below. Please go follow him on social media. Go give him some love. I'm sure he'll start a YouTube channel.
Break like 1,000 Facebook likes. I'd love to start a Facebook channel.
Start a YouTube channel.
YouTube channel.
We'll do the collabs, all the time. But go check out his stuff. Go follow his podcast. It's really good. Honestly, like you put me to shame a little bit in some cases. So I don't have
the pretty face on mine yet. You have the one up on me there.
Thank you. I don't know. We're pretty even. So
see, that's also another like quick note. Like I find a lot of artists there because I use Skype. I find a lot of artists just leave the camera off, which is fine. Like I always want my face there, like for the personal aspect of it and like connection. And they're just like, oh yeah, I recognize that. But like a lot of the artists are just like, do I have to use video? Like, because I don't blame them. I'd be in my pajamas doing the interview too.
I'm in my pajamas now. Yeah. So
precisely.
There you go. So who cares, right? That's
exactly. So we'll see if I can convince a few more people to put their mugs on social media and. Let's see what's coming.
There we go. Well, like I said, go check out Nick's stuff. All of the links will be below. Like I said, awesome, really, really good content. So if you're looking for some good shit, please go check Nick's stuff out. And if you enjoyed this episode of the Backstage Press, I think it's episode 11 something. Go check it out. Please, thank you for watching this series. It's been an awesome time, And feel free to reach out to me on social media if you'd like to come on and you're more like behind the scenes press shit. Like feel free to jump on. I'd love to have you on for a conversation. And
yeah, I can vouch it's been fun.
oh, thank you. I'll pay you later, Nick.
Okay, thank you.
Go seriously, go check out his stuff, and if you enjoy this content, we've got tons of stuff on the channel. So
He's got tons
of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. So go check it out, and when he has the merch site live, you boy is gonna share that. So make sure to go check out Nick's stuff. And thank you, of course, to Nick for coming on and doing the chitty chat thing.
Appreciate you having me. This has been it's weird to be on the other end of this interview spectrum. But it's been
I know that vibe. So I had it last night, so I was feeling the same way. So seriously, go check out.
I greatly appreciate it.
Of course, and talk to you guys soon. Peace.